This is ugly. This is painful. This is a reality check spot. So SMU beat top 10 Miami in overtime. They earned their first top 10 win since I believe the Pony Express days, or maybe even before that. This is their first top 10 win in ACC play and only their second year within the conference. And talk about a coaching job by Rhett Lashley, where in ACC play, they only have one loss through their history in this conference. You know, they were 8-0 last year, and as of right now, this channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. Now, Miami is 2-2 in ACC play, and SMU is 4-1. That is stunning. So Miami has 4 times the ACC losses that SMU does over the past 2 years. And that is with a team that in both seasons has been power rated higher than SMU's and has more talent, more NFL talent. That is coaching right there. That is coaching. SMU wins the games they're supposed to win. I know they lost to Wake Forest by a point last weekend, but that was clearly a look-ahead spot. It's on the road, and SMU is just not the team they were last year. Because they only have one loss in the ACC, their playoff hopes are actually alive. Same with their ACC championship game hopes, especially that, because they've knocked Miami back, and it's not like Louisville, Duke, Virginia, or Georgia Tech are invincible. If SMU wins out, the chances of them being in Charlottesville, I would say, are pretty high, because I think a lot of those teams, if not all of them, are going to take at least a loss, if not multiple losses in ACC play. Georgia Tech might be different because they have that Georgia game, so they really only have 2 ACC games left, but they could lose to Pitt. They could lose to Boston College on the road. We don't know the future at all. We're just grateful to have a future. And for Miami, they should be grateful that they have that head-to-head win over Notre Dame, that they didn't lose to Notre Dame earlier in the year, or that this game didn't happen against Florida, for example. That's what they should be thankful for, or that they were able to pull away against Stanford in the second half. This is a team that, with hindsight, is not playing good football. A lot of people were fooled into believing that this was a top 2 team. Now, of course, given that I had them ranked in my top 10, and I think even top 5 at one point, I was also fooled. I never, though, believed that they were the number 1 team in the country, or that they had a very strong argument to be. And the primary reason behind that was they didn't have awesome depth at receiver. Beck was clearly not as good as Cam Ward, and their secondary still had some questions, at least in theory. And because your coach is Mario Cristobal, you can't list elite game management as a reason for why you're better than your power rating or record might suggest. So Ryan Day and Kirby Smart have earned benefit of the doubt there. Kurt Cignetti certainly has, for example. Like, those right now, I think, are your top 3 coaches in football. And, like, Kyle Whittingham at Utah has earned that. I think Kalani Sitake at BYU has earned that. There are some other coaches where they are pluses in game management. Mario Cristobal's not that. I would actually argue that Rhett Lashley is that. SMU was outgained in total yards. SMU could not run the football to save their life. They were outgained in first downs. But SMU won the penalty battle. SMU was able to limit Miami to 2 sacks. SMU was able to exploit Miami's secondary. That's why they averaged 8.1 yards per pass attempt with 365 passing yards. That's why Kevin Jennings had a 67.6 QBR. They were able to find a way to get down the field late in the fourth quarter, tie it up despite trailing for much of the game, and then Carson Beck threw that fateful interception to Ahmad Moses, a veteran who had 2 interceptions in this game, a player who was, second first team All ACC caliber player in the preseason, was awesome last year. SMU's defense and team overall has not had the same success this year as last year. What a huge, gigantic win for the SMU program. There is no way to spin it other than that. And what a catastrophic loss for Miami. The only good thing about Miami at this point, the only one, is the win over Notre Dame gives you insurance to where if Notre Dame is 10-2 and you are 10-2, because you're power rated similarly enough and your 2 losses right now are close to SMU in overtime on the road and Louisville at home Friday off a bye, where if you throw 1 less turnover, if you throw 1 less pick, you probably win. Because of all those things, you will get in the playoffs over Notre Dame. You will, with the head-to-head win. As long as your team stays healthy, as long as they don't lose anymore, you will get in the playoffs over them. But that's not a positive takeaway from this game. That's from the past. In the here and now, Miami has played pretty poor football in the months of October and November. This is not championship football. The fact that they are not in the top quarter of ACC teams in terms of conference record is emasculating. That's bad. Miami has no business being in that position where you have 2 ACC losses before your final 4 games. That's bad. It's not good enough. And they can lose to Pitt on the road. I mean, watch the SMU game, even watch the Notre Dame game, the Florida game, and their game against Louisville. Tell me they can't lose to Pitt with a straight face. They can. They can lose to a lot of teams remaining on their schedule. I mean, looking at Miami's remaining schedule, we'll pull it up here in a minute with proper context. Actually, we can pull it up right now. Let's do that. Looking at Miami's schedule, Syracuse at home, you're probably not losing to them. You can lose to NC State at home on the 15th of November. At Virginia Tech, it's a road game. Louisville nearly lost there yesterday. Spooky things happen in Lane Stadium. And as for Pitt, that's going to be a cold, empty, boring environment against a team that's 7-2 and is red hot. Pitt is ahead of you in conference standings. Is there any evidence that says you are so much better than Pitt that an upset is very unlikely, if not statistically improbable? No, of course not. NC State has a more impressive conference win than anything you've had all season long. They just beat undefeated Georgia Tech at home by, I believe, double digits, if not by a touchdown. I mean, this is not a good situation if you are Miami, and they have to go back to the drawing board and figure some things out quickly. And I mean quickly because they don't really have a bye. I mean, maybe you can count Syracuse as a bye, but you have to figure things out, and you have to figure them out fast. They are not super effective at running the ball. I think part of that is because everyone knows what's coming. With Carson Beck in there, even more so than Cam Ward, they want to run it in between the tackles. They want to line it up and pound you. And that makes the offense somewhat predictable. It's been a blander offense this year. It's no coincidence that you no longer have Jacoby George, Xavier Restrepo. You no longer have, I forget his name, but awesome tight end from Miami last year, or Cam Ward. You do not have those skill position players. You don't. And that combined with coaches being smart and teams such as SMU and Louisville having really good defensive lines means they can kind of put you in a hole. They can force you to play a type of game that you don't want to play and rely on your quarterback play when you don't want to. And as my as my friend says, Timmy from South Park shows up. That's Carson Beck when he throws an interception. Like, he shows up and it's ugly and it's bad and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what the SMU game was. You're inside the 10, it's overtime. You could probably, if you wanted to really get in the end zone, run it up the middle twice in a row and maybe you get it. And instead he throws an ill-advised pick to Ahmad Moses, and at that point it's game over. So with Miami, their secondary's gettable. They're a trench team, but they're not much else outside of the trenches. And that's a bad position to be in. When you have 2 losses and you're entering the month of November with teams on your schedule that they can beat you, and they will beat you if you aren't careful. For SMU, they only have 3 games left. They should beat Boston College this Saturday, the 8th. And then they get a bye before their game against Louisville. That's going to be a big game. I mean, if they beat BC 7-3, 5-1 in ACC play, they could be ranked. That could be another, because I think last year's SMU Louisville game was ranked on ranked, though I could be wrong. It could be another top tier SMU Louisville game, except this time it's in Gerald R. Ford Stadium. It's in Dallas. So that'll be a big game. That'll be a game we preview and give a prediction for on the channel for sure. Especially given how Louisville only has 1 loss. And I think if not for SMU, I'm pretty sure that Louisville wins out. I think that's the only thing that's going to stop the Cardinals at this point is the Mustangs. They have a game against Cal. And traveling to Cal sucks, but it's also the final game of the regular season. So you can sell out for that game because you don't know what your season is going to be beyond that point. Maybe you'll reach the ACC title game, and if you do, you have a shot to go to the playoffs. If you miss, then you don't go to the playoffs, but you go 9-3, you go over on the win total, you have momentum, and you can build a better team next year and fight for the playoffs. Because a big takeaway I have from this game is that the ACC is not a good conference. The Big 12 right now is a definitively better conference. They have 2 teams that are better than Miami right now. Utah? Is anyone going to disagree with that? I don't think so. And Texas Tech, which if you disagree with that, you should be deported. Texas Tech would probably win the trenches against Miami, or at least go 50-50 with them. And they have enough talent at secondary and on the outside and good enough special teams play to probably beat Miami more times than not on a neutral field. It is crazy how disappointing the ACC has been this year. And this game kind of proves it. I mean, Miami was supposed to win by what the odds makers said, by double digits or at least by a touchdown. Power ratings agreed with that. Miami was supposed to win this game by 2 scores or more. They did not. And they never were able to pull away in the 60 minutes. I think SMU is trending up. I overall believe that Miami as a program is still at its best since the Larry Coker era because of how they recruit and how they've been able to develop. The development, I don't think is an issue for Miami. I think a lot of it is coaching and mentality and play calling. The on-field stuff and the stuff in the strength and conditioning room, I think is as good as you can have it for a top-end program. Maybe it's not the best, but it's close. The issue is play calling. It is a mindset. It's things that are very hard to control unless the head coach is willing to look in a mirror. If Miami misses the playoffs, again, they are definitely going to have to take a look at themselves. As of right now, I wouldn't even favor them to reach the playoffs because with them and Notre Dame, and Miami needs Notre Dame to win out too. They cannot afford to have their best win have 3 losses and not even be in the playoff conversation. With some of the games left on both of their schedules, the odds that Miami is going to have a good enough resume to get into the playoffs, I think is slim. And it's only going to get slimmer by the days unless they really change some things. SMU's front helped them win the game, so they held Miami to 4 yards per carry and had 4 TFLs. That's fantastic against that Miami offensive line. Both are technically in the playoff conversation. And as for Mario Cristobal, I don't know how else to put it outside of stating the obvious. You know, this guy is a wonderful recruiter. He knows how to set a good foundation in a program. Dan Lanning will tell you that. But in these games that are not top 10 matchups, his teams do not put forth the necessary effort to pull away and earn guaranteed wins like Ohio State's doing this year, or Indiana is doing this year, or the Michigan teams of the past did, or Georgia's doing this year and has always done it, or Kirby Smart, or Alabama has done outside of this year to Florida State. You get the point. Miami needs some changes, whether roster-wise or maybe it's assistant coaching. I think more so than anything, it's mentality. And SMU's mentality is a mentality that's going to help them control this conference going forward. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.